For 3 years, I had a well-kept secret. While employed as a housekeeper at the Richardson Grand Hotel, I was simultaneously the CEO of Lux Global Hotels, a major entity in the hospitality industry. The Richardson Grand, a cherished establishment passed down for 2 generations in my family, was now facing dire straits, trailing behind in contemporary hospitality trends and burdened by debt my uncle, Thomas, overlooked. Despite my initial intentions to conceal my identity, family has a knack for underestimating you, prompting revelations when least expected. I am Grace Chen, and this is the tale of realizing that humility is sometimes best taught by letting arrogance reveal itself. I vividly remember the pivotal day at Lux Global while reviewing potential acquisitions with the executive team. The name Richardson Grand surfaced, making my heart pound. They were reported to be ignoring their financial plight and were potentially months away from a forced sale. I couldn't passively watch my heritage crumble, unbeknownst to them that the quiet niece who seemed inconsequential was poised to intervene. Driven by this resolve, I became a housekeeper, deflecting HR's curiosity over my qualifications from Cornell's hotel school with a casual, "I believe in starting from the ground up," knowing full well they couldn't grasp the depths of my intentions. Over those years, working covertly, I analyzed inefficiencies, documented failings, and executed my duties without blemish, all while orchestrating a billion-dollar enterprise. Notably, my cousin Bradley, tasked with managing the hotel, never missed a chance to belittle my status publicly. "Grace, the bathroom in 306 needs attention," he'd shout, ensuring guests bore witness to my perceived subordination. However, beneath his misguided superiority, I amassed critical insights others overlooked, buried under their bias against a staffer seemingly insignificant. Last Tuesday marked a turning point during an unprecedented invitation to the family business meeting. Held in the hotel's grand, albeit fading, conference room, it was evident Bradley awaited the chance to eclipse me with his news. As he stood at the forefront, displaying uncontained zeal, Uncle Thomas presided the table with Aunt Margaret closely seated. Addressing the room, Bradley commenced with his statement, as you all know, ready to unfold what he believed to be groundbreaking. Unaware of the surprises held in humility's quiet depths, the hotel industry is experiencing transformation, said Bradley as he adjusted his designer tie. We're required to modernize if we want to compete with the major chains, he stated while clicking to the subsequent slide in his presentation. Hence, I've devised a thorough rebranding strategy. I almost choked on my water. His plan was nearly identical to a successful strategy one implemented at Lux Global 2 years prior. Undoubtedly, he must have discovered it in some industry publication and claimed it as his own invention. We will need to dismiss some of our less critical staff, Bradley continued, smirking as he caught my eye. We'll start by eliminating outdated roles such as full-time housekeepers, opting instead for outsourcing to a cleaning service. The room became silent, and everyone was aware he was referring to me at that point. Aunt Margaret chimed in with feigned concern. Grace's family. Perhaps we could find another role for her in the laundry. Remaining silent, I watched as my cousin's plot came to fruition. It was compounded by 3 years of his subtle jabs and overt humiliations, culminating in this moment. His desire was to dismiss me in front of the entire family, proving once and for all that he was the triumphant one, the rightful heir to the Richardson Grand. Puffing up with self-importance, Bradley replied, "Actually, I've already arranged everything. The new cleaning service commences next week." Turning towards me with a thin smile, he said, "Grace, consider this your formal notice. We'll need your uniform returned by Friday." I could have exposed everything right then, pulling out my phone to reveal the Lux Global company profile featuring my picture and CEO title. I could have even pointed out that my breaks were spent managing a company boasting over 20,000 hotels globally. Instead, I rose slowly, straightened my housekeeper's outfit, and smiled. "Of course, Bradley. I completely understand," I remarked. As I turned to leave, I paused at the door and added, "Oh, and congratulations on your rebranding strategy. It worked exceptionally well when Lux Global implemented it 2 years ago." I left them pondering how a housekeeper could know such a detail, exiting to the sound of Bradley's sputtering excuses about his original plan. What they failed to realize was that over my 3 years of room cleaning and operational observation, I had assembled a comprehensive analysis pinpointing every flaw in the Richardson Grand, every health code violation, maintenance shortcut, and Bradley's book cooking to cover his costly mistakes. The next day, Lux Global Hotel's CEO had an inspection scheduled at the property, unbeknownst to them that I was the CEO. That evening, I spent my time in the modest apartment located above the local coffee shop, finalizing forthcoming events. My phone buzzed nonstop with messages from family, some showing concern over my firing, others advising against making a scene. Ignoring them, I opened my laptop and began typing an email to my executive team at Lux Global. Proceed with Operation Richardson tomorrow as planned, and ensure Bradley's presence throughout the inspection. It's time he learned genuine hotel management, I wrote, clicking send with a smile. I couldn't help but think of the next day. Bradley always insisted I learn my place within the hotel. At precisely 9 a.m. the following day, I found myself at the Richardson Grand, not clad in my customary housekeeper attire but instead donned in a bespoke charcoal suit indicative of my life as a CEO, a wardrobe dormant in my apartment for the past 3 years. My heels resonated through the marble lobby, capturing the attention of both guests and staff. From behind the reception desk, Bradley's voice interrupted. "Excuse me, miss. Can I assist you?" His sentence dwindled as I pivoted to face him. "Grace, what are you? Why are you dressed like this?" he inquired. I responded serenely. "Good morning, Bradley. If I'm not mistaken, the CEO of Lux Global Hotels is scheduled to visit today." Bewilderment etched onto his features as he admitted, "Indeed, but you must leave immediately. We're expecting an important inspection, and I cannot have you creating unnecessary conflict due to your dismissal." At that moment, the elevator doors opened, and my executive team emerged. Thomas Wright, my chief financial officer, Sarah Martinez, our head of operations, and Michael Chong, our chief legal officer, all essential in managing Lux Global alongside me through virtual meetings. "Mrs. Chen," Thomas acknowledged with a courteous nod, "the preliminary reports you requested are ready for examination." Bradley's expression shifted drastically. "Mrs. Chen, what is the meaning of this?" I proposed, "Perhaps we should transition this discussion to the conference room. Bradley, please contact Uncle Thomas and Aunt Margaret. They should witness this event." Half an hour later, seated once more in the very conference room where they'd dismissed me only yesterday, the power dynamic had transformed substantially. My executive team was positioned on one side of the table, while the bewildered Richardson family sat on the opposing side, as if encountering a specter. "Allow me to clarify," I stated, positioning myself at the table's head, typically occupied by Uncle Thomas. "For the past 3 years, while serving here as a housekeeper, I have concurrently helmed Lux Global Hotels as its CEO. Contrary to Bradley's accusations, my breaks were dedicated not to idleness, but to operating a global enterprise overseeing more than 200 properties." "That's impossible," Aunt Margaret murmured in disbelief. "You're merely a maid," I completed, precisely why this deception functioned seamlessly. "Your belief in my insignificance was so complete that none of you thought to verify my credentials or question why a Cornell alumna would be found in such a position." I then connected my laptop to the projector, revealing a series of incriminating documents. "During my tenure here, I've meticulously compiled evidence of health code violations, delayed maintenance, and suspicious accounting practices," I said, casting a look toward Bradley, who suddenly seemed absorbed in studying the table. "Including the allocation of a $500,000 renovation budget to settle gambling debts," I pronounced. Uncle Thomas swung his gaze to his son. "Bradley, is there truth in this?" "Dad, I can provide an explanation," he stammered, but I resumed before he could fabricate another deceit. "In just 3 months, the Richardson Grand faces bankruptcy, its industry reputation in sharp decline, with an employee turnover rate nearing 80% annually. To summarize, this establishment is on the verge of collapse." Silence engulfed the room, a stark acknowledgement of 3 years of arduous effort. In a moment where truth was laid bare, Uncle Thomas finally inquired in a voice barely above a whisper, "Why work as a housekeeper if you're truly who you claim to be?" I sat down, softening my voice, explaining, "This hotel is our family's legacy. Grandfather started it from nothing. I couldn't stand to see it fail. I had to understand what exactly was wrong before I could help address it." Bradley, finding his voice again, scoffed, "We don't need your help, and I still don't believe you're truly Sarah." Sliding a folder across the table, Mrs. Chen revealed credentials, press coverage, and company documentation. "Feel free to verify it all," I reassured. As my family members examined the papers, their expressions evolved from disbelief to shock and ultimately comprehension. Presenting their options, I explained, "Lux Global is prepared to present an offer to acquire the Richardson Grand, a very generous offer given its current financial situation. We would preserve the family's name and history while upgrading to modern standards." "Or what?" Uncle Thomas questioned. "Or I walk away, both as a housekeeper and a prospective buyer. But be warned, the next interested buyer might not care about your legacy. They'll likely demolish it and build something new." Suddenly, Aunt Margaret, who had been unusually quiet, spoke. "All those times we looked down on you, treated you as beneath us, you could have spoken out." I queried softly, "Would you have believed me, or dismissed it as a maid's desperate claim?" The ensuing silence served as the answer. Gathering my documents, I stood and noted, "You have 24 hours to decide. Accept our offer, and the Richardson Grand becomes the flagship of our new classic hotels division. If not," I shrugged, "developers are offering competitive prices for the land." As I turned to leave, Bradley halted me. "The rebranding plan I shared yesterday was just a replica of my initiative from 2 years ago." "Correct," I acknowledged. "Next time you decide to plagiarize a plan, ensure the creator isn't present." The next 24 hours passed tensely. My phone remained quiet as my family processed their newfound knowledge. I spent the time at my modest apartment, finally working openly on my laptop without concealing my CEO status. Precisely at 9 a.m. the following day, Uncle Thomas called, his voice laden with emotion. "We accept, but Grace, can you forgive us?" I reflected on the times they disregarded me, treated me as less than family, but also on my grandfather's teachings that true leadership is not about vengeance, it's about improvement. "I'm not concerned with forgiveness, Uncle Thomas. I'm focused on making the Richardson Grand truly great once more. Are you prepared to aid me in that?" The hotel's renovation took 6 months. Bradley was reassigned to our Miami property as an assistant manager to properly learn the business. Uncle Thomas retired, remaining as a consultant, finally utilizing his decades of experience effectively. Witnessing guests check in under the glittering chandeliers in the newly refurbished lobby, now shining in their full magnificence, reminded me of the journey. A plaque recounting how my grandfather launched the hotel with sheer ambition and resolve was placed prominently on the wall. 1 year post-rejuvenation, Richardson Grandom transitioned into our most successful classic property, a seamless fusion of historical grandeur and modern-day efficiency. The turnover rate for staff plummeted to 15%, and our satisfaction ratings among guests soared high. Aunt Margaret joined me, surveying it all with pride. "Grace," she said, "I think I finally grasped the reason behind your approach." Her curiosity piqued. I turned to listen. Margaret went on. 3 years ago, you had the option to buy the hotel outright, possibly forcing us out. Instead, you invested in understanding its foundation, learning each intricacy and identifying areas ripe for enhancement. With a smile, I responded, "True leaders delve into every element of their business, from the hands-on tasks of changing bed linens to the strategic management of millions." Aunt Margaret, in a gentle tone, remarked, "Your grandfather would be honored by not only the hotel's preservation but also the method you utilized to achieve it." Observing another contented family checking in, my thoughts drifted over the past 3 years, marked by underestimation, cleaning as I managed a global enterprise, and enduring family meetings silently. Was it worth it? That morning brought news of a perfect 5-star rating and a remarkable 95% occupancy rate, with a waiting list for premium rooms. The staff, properly trained and fairly rewarded, worked with evident pride throughout the lobby. More significantly, my family learned invaluable lessons in humility, respect, and genuine leadership. Bradley, flourishing in Miami, appreciated that true success is built on hard work and integrity, not arrogance or shortcuts. Yes, it was indeed worthwhile. Adjusting my suit, I proceeded to my office, the very room where Bradley once summoned me for cleaning tasks. Now, it serves as the command hub for both Richardson Grand and my responsibilities as CEO of Lux Global. On my desk sat a cherished photo of my grandfather before his newly inaugurated hotel, alongside my preserved housekeeper uniform in a shadow box, accompanied by a plaque subtly reminding, "Never forget where you started." That lesson lingered, as it's essential that leading is often most effective from within rather than above. In quieter instances, the keenest observations come from those whom you least expect. Often, the seemingly simple act, like a housekeeper setting your bed, conceals the CEO, ensuring precision. As for me, donning a housekeeper's attire on occasion to work alongside our team keeps me grounded, anchoring me to the core elements that render a hotel home-like. After all, in this business, the small details matter extensively, serving as poignant reminders that potential lurks everywhere, often waiting for the right moment to manifest its true value.